at the glory there. That is some beautiful coffee. Well, the coffee's flowing and it's time to get going. Hey, welcome back to Questions Over Coffee. My name's Kevin Smith. It's good to see you again. Want a cup of coffee? Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up on Questions Over Coffee. If you have a comment or a question, leave it in the section below. We'll get to it just as fast as we can. Today's question comes from Flip2839. He writes, "Can I work in banking as a Christian?" And I asked for some clarification and pointed him to a previous video I did on banking. But he gave me some clarification, and here's what he wrote specifically. Yes, it was helpful, but you still have many questions. My question is more to do with Exodus than that says, "You shall not give with interest." Considering that passage, that's how retail banking makes its money. Can a Christian work in banking considering that verse? Now, Flip did not mention a verse, but the only verse in Exodus, when I did a cursory search with Olive Tree, for the NASB at least, was Exodus 22:25. Let's go ahead and take a look at that particular verse, and we'll also consider verses 26 and 27 as well. "If you lend money to my people, to the poor among you, you are not to act as a creditor to him. You shall not charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, you are to return it to him before the sun sets, for that is his only covering. It is his cloak for his body. What else shall he sleep in? And it shall come about when he cries out to me, I will hear him, for I am gracious." Flip, this is a great question about the interest, and it is something that extends more than to just cash flow, so to speak. It extends to dealing with folks that may or may not have as much as we do, or be as blessed as we are, in a way that causes them harm. And interest can certainly be that as well. But let's actually address this particular specific question of banking and interest. The passage lends itself more toward the individual to individual loan instead of the corporate to individual loan. The society back then was more agricultural, agrarian, whatever word you want to use, which is not as similar, at least, to most societies today that would be dealing with banking, so to speak. So the question really becomes a question of, number one, is that the case, that it is individual to individual, at which point banking and banking loans are not an issue. Like you said, banking is basically dependent upon the interest and interest rates as far as making money goes. So if a bank does not charge interest, then how does it stay open? So it may come down to a, do you conscience-wise have an issue with having someone sign a document that is going to end up charging them interest as far as a personal loan goes? And if that's the case, then my advice is to pray and pray for wisdom and think long and hard about it. But either way you go, with it being take this job or do not take this job, what you can consider is the honesty and the integrity as far as a Christian in banking goes. And I've known quite a few folks in banking that were very faithful Christians, sought to live godly lives every moment of every day, and they still chose that field. Now, here is some things that you could do that would help to be honest and to be a person of integrity and still have someone sign a bank loan. Number one, tell them clearly about the interest rate, about the terms and conditions, and even about the small print. There have been a number of times where, I've gone to a bank or to a car dealership or, whatever the case may be. The one time we bought a house, things like that, where the person will just basically take a piece of paper and say, okay, this line here says all of this, and they're going so fast, it's like they are attempting to, be an auctioneer almost in some cases. And, that doesn't help for someone that does not take the time to read a contract. And let's be honest, many people do not. I had to deal with a number of merchants in my time at U.S. Banks Merchant Services that when you mentioned their contract, they said, I signed a contract, and it was in our imaging. I was looking at it right then. Yes, sir, I could send you a copy of this if you'd like, so make sure that people understand the terms, the contracts, the small print, things like that, where unfortunately corporations tend to try to stick it to people. Number two goes along with that. Make sure that at least as much as possible, make sure that the person understands what they're signing. Sometimes we can do the best we can to make sure that the person, to use biblical terms, counts the costs, of following Jesus, or, counts the cost of signing this loan. Make sure, as much as we can, to be certain that they understand what they're signing up for. Now, sometimes, you and I have seen people go, yeah, okay, yeah, where do I sign? Like it's in one ear, out the other, or, whatever the case is. But if they want to go that route, then that's on them, so to speak. But we can do our best to make sure that they understand what's going on and the pros and the cons of this. And number three, I would say, if you ever get into a position where you can own a bank or help to set the bank's interest rates or things of that nature, sure, make them competitive, but make them reasonable as well. Instead of seeking to get rich off of one or two clients, seek to be, a person of integrity and seek to keep the interest rate, in a place where people can afford to pay that. Now, based on the economy, I don't know where you live, but based on the economy that the U.S. is seeing in some cases, the interest rates have to go up and down. They do fluctuate, and if that's the case, then so be it. You have to stay in business. But if you have control over whether it's, say, 5% or 10%, go with the 5. Save some people some money. Be a person of honesty and integrity. I hope this helps you to make a decision on whether or not to pursue this line of work. And if you do go down this path, or even if you choose a different path, I wish you well in those choices. Best advice would be to pray for the wisdom in making this choice, and to, of course, seek God's counsel in all things. I do have a question for you. Where do we draw the line between offering somebody something and let's say badgering them to take an offer when they clearly do not want to take an offer? This could extend to offering somebody something at a bank, a promotion or whatever, or it could be, offering somebody the gospel even. Where do we draw the line and say, okay, they have said no, I'm going to respect that answer, and okay. Leave me a comment in the section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up on Questions Over Coffee. Thank you for our time together today. I look forward to the next time. Keep pressing forward.